one of the original scripts, I had Vigilante's mom rolling around on the couch making out with John Economos. And it was the only time we ever see John Economos in Earth 2. And he goes, oh, my mom is fucking John Economos here. Welcome to Peacemaker, the official podcast with James Gunn. And I'm James Gunn. And I'm joined every episode by my co-hosts, Jennifer Holland and Steve Agee, who some people say Steve Agee.
Wrong pronunciation.
Yeah.
I know people that have been longtime friends of you, and they're like, oh, you're friends with my friend Steve Agee.
I went through 2 years of high school and never corrected anyone who mispronounced it. And then at graduation, when they asked for the phonetical spelling of your last name, I gave it to them, and then the announcer said, Steve Agee. And all my friends were like, fucking idiot, mispronounced your name. I was like, no, he didn't. And they were like, what?
Well, that sexy voice you just heard, that is Steve Agee, and this very annoying voice that you have been hearing this entire season is James Gunn. That's great. I am Jennifer Holland. I play Emilia Harcourt.
I'm Steve Agee, and I play John.
And this is the official destination to go deeper on the HBO Max series Peacemaker. We go behind the scenes. We find out fun facts, not so fun facts, facts that'll make you angry, facts that'll make you sad, tragic facts, joyful, life-giving facts.
Maybe even some opinions, which are not facts.
And we share some opinions as well. Yes.
Today we're talking Season 2, Episode 6, titled Ignorance is Chris, directed by James Gunn. Joining us today, we have co-executive producer and SVP of physical production, Lars Winther, who's joining us again. We've got director of photography, Sam McCurdy, Emmy Award-winning
Sam McCurdy from his wonderful work on Shogun. Well-deserved Emmy
Absolutely.
Award.
Well-deserved.
Thank you.
We
He was
love
like
Sam.
so nice before he won that Emmy.
I came in for so much flack when I came back down.
You asked for a day off, and you came back a different person.
And again, once again, we have the very, very handsome and lovely DC Studios exec and Season 2 producer Galen Vaisman.
And also warning, there be spoilers. So,
Is that a pirate warning?
yeah, it's a pirate warning. If you haven't watched this, go to HBO Max and watch it now, or forever burn in the depths of the sea. If you ever need a pirate character,
You're the guy.
You've already kind of played a pirate for me because the Ravagers in Guardians movies are
but
pirates.
Space
I think
pirates.
You couldn't see out of your
were
glasses.
Not
but
at all.
Yeah,
you were
It was
Jeff.
Jeff,
You were
yeah.
Ravager
yeah, Jeff was classic.
I feel like Ravager Jeff did not sound like a pirate.
No, he did not.
This episode begins in Earth 2 with Peacemaker and his brother Keith and Harcourt 2 and Augie Smith, too. After they've defeated a kaiju, some little blonde kids come up to them and say, can we take a picture with you? To which they take a picture, and as the Pretty Maids song plays, we see their faces distort and become gushy, and we know that all is not good.
Calling back to Season 1, maybe their faces distorted moistly.
Moistly, yes, that's right, as the word of the day on the chalkboard in Season 1.
Right.
We go into the title sequence, which was edited by Fred Raskin, who's edited a lot of my movies and also edited this episode along with Greg Featherman. Isn't that correct?
Yep.
And they did a great job. So we have Adebayo, Harcourt, Economos, and Vigilante outside of Vigilante's house.
Hey, just so you guys know, my mom can be a total biatch.
Is she gonna rat us out?
No?
Well, then we don't have another choice.
I remember that Sam brought up while we were watching it. It was Halloween when we shot that scene.
It was Halloween, and Ashley, she's been on all my movies.
A former assistant of mine, a set
various
PA.
capacities.
Everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She came dressed up as Chris McGuire, our camera
Yeah,
operator, and he has a lot of tattoos, and it was hilarious. So she had a beard.
She had a beard.
And as I was taking the picture of the two of them together, I stepped into a little gully, or what do you want, gutter. I twisted my ankle really, really badly.
Yeah, you did.
Day.
Yep.
I've thought that I've twisted my ankle in the past, but I didn't, because my ankle swole up.
It really was.
This big
I remember
sprain.
the grip spring and boxes and Fernie pads.
And also, Ashley's known for the smelly stickers on the Guardians of the Galaxy sides, and there's that whole story.
Wait, what happened on that?
I remember she would always give the stinky one to
a certain executive.
To a certain
who got
executive
really mad.
who got very pissed off every day.
I also used to try to pay people on the set, when they were on the walkies, the PAs, they would have to talk to Lars, and Lars may say something back about do something, and I kept trying to pay the PAs to say to Lars, "Don't worry your pretty little head about it."
Oh my God, did they say it?
And eventually Ashley was the
eventually
one
she did that.
who took my money.
And that's why she did not become my assistant anymore.
So anyway, okay, so we're there. They come inside the house, and we meet the wonderful character of Vigilante's mom, played by Taylor St. Clair, not the porn star.
Okay.
We don't think.
Don't call attention to it.
Well, and also almost wasn't in the show. Remember, I almost wrongly convinced you that, our schedule doesn't work. We should go with someone else.
The role of Vigilante's mom was very funny on the page, and we had auditions, and because she was funny, all of the auditions were funny. I mean, just every woman that came in. It's also an age range when actors are generally better. So, all these actors were coming in, and they were so funny as Vigilante's mom. But one woman stood out, Taylor St. Clair. She was fantastic, and I really thought she was the right one. And we had a really hard time making the schedule work, and Lars kept trying to bully me into choosing another actor, right?
I just asked one time, and then you were right.
You asked more than once.
Okay, maybe multiple times, yeah.
Yeah, but Taylor was fantastic, and she was a wonderful woman as well. And she was one of the guy's math teachers.
Amir, our second AD.
Oh, really?
She was
Yeah.
Amir's
Crazy.
math teacher.
Or arts teacher. I convinced
Arts
him
teacher.
to pursue a career in film.
Oh, wow, and he loved her.
Mom, we're going into my secret room now, so do you mind? Scoot.
Oh, of course.
We discover, first of all, that Vigilante is terribly mean to his mother, and he's just constantly cursing at her, and he's like the angriest 12-year-old you've ever seen, and she puts up with every single bit of it and apologizes for herself and just gets walked on. She's a floor mat. In the first episode of this season, Steve, you say we can't go to Vigilantes because his mother could be rotting Norma Bates style for all we know. And she's actually, her fate is worse because she has to put up with this juvenile.
She's living, and she's just, she's Freddie's so mean. I mean,
Freddie.
Vigilante is so mean to his
But
mom.
Freddie's so funny as his character. He's just so disgusted with his mother. We go downstairs. We learn that Vigilante has been telling his mother, and we infer this from what happens, Vigilante has been lying to his mother and telling his mother he has a girlfriend, and that girlfriend is Emilia Harcourt.
A little breaking of the fourth wall in some ways by James Gunn in the script when she says, "Oh, I thought it was hardcore," and Emilia says, "You're not alone."
You're not alone, because there's lots of people online that mishear.
They call me hardcore.
Is hardcore.
Love you, hardcore, and I'm like, thank you. It's hardcore, but thank you.
Shut up.
Girlfriend.
Shut up.
I don't think that being too slutty is any reason to break up.
Stop.
Adrian saying he had to break up with me.
Yes,
It's-
that's right, because you're slutty.
Yeah.
And he's mortified that this lie is out, and he's trying everything he can.
It's a new era. People have the pornography on their phones now.
Fuck off!
Have you ever been caught in a lie like that, Sam?
Thankfully not.
Never in your life?
No,
Not even as a kid?
I don't think so. Probably as a kid.
I once ditched.
I've been
I
caught
once
in multiple lies
ditched
like
class at school, and the next day I signed a note from my parents. I like forged a note and then got called in like very promptly to the principal's office, who was like, your mother isn't even in town. And, like, how did she sign this? And it was like,
You're caught.
busted.
Yeah,
My mom
that's-
wasn't even around.
That's the worst.
I was busted in everything I did, so there was no point in kind. I never got busted in a barefaced lie. I just got busted. Remember one of the worst ones being my mum was a Catholic school teacher.
Your
and
mom
My
was
mum
a
was a Catholic school teacher. And I remember bunking the day off school to watch one of the space shuttle flights. And I got busted for everything. I'd gone back to the house with a whole bunch of friends, watched TV, watched the space shuttle taking off, and didn't know that it was a Catholic holiday. My mom came straight through the door and was like, "What the fuck are you guys up?" She didn't say that. She was a Catholic.
When I was a kid, I would go to church every weekend with my parents and to Mass, Catholic. And once I started driving, I would just tell my parents I went to Mass and not go to Mass, or I'd go and get stoned and pretend I was watching a ceremony of aliens, which made it more fun.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, Larry, my next door neighbor, and I would get stoned and go, Larry Fitzgibbon.
Oh, yeah.
And
No way.
but one time I got caught. I can't remember what it was. And my dad said, "Did you go to Mass?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "What time Mass did you go to?" And I said, "I went to the 11 a.m. Mass, Dad." And he goes, "There is no 11 a.m. Mass." And I'm like, and then I went, "Yeah, I don't really believe in this stuff." I said, "I believe in God, but I don't believe in any of the rest of it." And then my dad was like really angry.
I do remember, the only thing I can think of that I got caught doing was I cut all of my Barbie's hair off.
Oh, yeah.
Once, because I fancied myself like maybe I was like a hair stylist or a barber or whatever. And I don't know, I guess I was so young, I didn't realize their hair wouldn't grow back. And then when I saw my mom was so mad, I was like, oh no, I think I fucked up their hair for the rest of their lives.
Their lives.
Their lives, yeah. Their lives were ruined.
Yeah, that was so weird. She has dementia. I think she was confusing me with my other girlfriend.
Weird, yeah.
We all go into Adrian's basement and we learn that Adrian in his basement has been for years murdering, killing bad guys and stealing all of their drugs and money and putting it in his basement because he thinks it's cursed blood money and he can't do anything with it.
Yeah.
And what's the reaction of the 11th Street kids to that?
To steal it.
Take some of this shit, man.
Instantly, you guys start stealing and stuffing.
We're like,
money
oh
in your
yeah, no,
pants.
you shouldn't use this stuff.
Yeah.
This is blood money, man.
And you use the closet down there, which is full of Beanie Babies, to open up the portal.
Were those real Beanie Babies?
Yes.
Those were real
Not
Beanie
like
Babies.
Forgeries, huh?
No.
Wow.
No, because some of them went missing, didn't they? And it was a real big deal.
Is that true?
Yeah. I'm
Somebody
sure.
on the
I'm sure.
somebody on the
Yeah, there
crew-
was
There's a
something
Beanie
happened.
Baby.
I'm sure something.
somebody on the
happened.
crew stole Beanie Babies.
Well, I
and then it
remember
was a-
coming in the following
You
day.
never
and
know,
it
they
was-
might come back one
Yeah,
day.
They might come
you
back
never
one day.
know. Yeah.
It would be funny if it was Freddie that stole them.
But was it a problem?
No, it got resolved. Yeah.
Did we find out
was
who
it?
did it?
Okay.
I think they got, my understanding, they got returned on,
Yes.
like,
Yeah.
somebody just returned them.
That's where.
So
all
it's still
the,
a mystery, you know, you never know.
That's where they
You
went
can admit
over
to
on
it.
the
Yeah,
budget.
no. We actually got,
That's where
you want to know what I lied about? Well, that's my story.
I got caught. I got caught stealing 4 stretches
Yeah.
because
Sorry, guys.
I only have 7 stretches at home. And Lars's. Adebayo uses the metal container to open the portal from the closet, the Beanie Baby closet, into the other world so that they can follow Peacemaker. And there's this explosion, and you get cocaine exploded all over you. How was that experience, you guys?
Oh, it was horrendous. What you don't understand.
Not the explosion part. That was really fun and kind of cool. It's
Oh, was it?
the repeated painting of
Because
dust
in
on
order
us.
in order to keep the continuity, we would do the scene and we'd have half gotten it off of us, and then we'd have to go back out and get all this shit poured on us again. And it was, you're just breathing it
It was
in the whole.
really not cool.
And
for us.
terrible.
it was a pain in the ass, though, because as we see through this episode, you guys go through a long journey. So you go from here and then into the quantum unfolding chamber and into the other world, and then you go off into other places. And the big question was, how much cocaine do you have on you for the rest of that journey? And we had to kind of like whittle it down little by little as you went through. And it was a real nightmare for Hajar, our script supervisor, who did a great job. on the
She
show.
did a great job. We have not mentioned her, our script supervisor, Hajar Maji. She was lovely.
She's great.
In addition to losing Peacemaker, Economos and Emilia Harcourt are both MIA.
Sam, you remember that day we shot Flag and Flurry together in their office?
In their office, yeah. It was the first scene up that day, and you came into work and said, "We're not going to prep it. We're not going to rehearse it. I just want to shoot something." Myself, Chris, the A camera operator, and Hugh, the B camera operator, were just like, "The fuck's going to happen?"
Yeah, because you
Like,
guys were
I
like,
don't
well,
know.
no, we can do it a little bit. I said, no.
No, I just want to see what
I
happens.
said, no, I want to see what happens.
Yeah.
I just want to do it. And then I started making Tim Meadows do ridiculous things.
Absolutely.
You know, and I'm like, I don't want to spend a bunch of time on this. Stupid
No, but it was that, and that's one of the fun things, I think, especially with the construct of Peacemaker, is when you come into work and go, Sam, we're just going to do it. You kind of go, yeah, go on, whatever. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
There's the fun in that.
The thing with Tim sitting back down at the chair, and I just told Tim to sit back down and think to himself and hum as if he's thinking, to show off that he's thinking. And it was so funny. Yeah. But we also actually had some pretty funny stuff in the doorway that we didn't use. Almost made it in the post credits, but we have one of our favorite post credit scenes. But it was where
because you kept coming and going and coming and going,
and he was asking
come back in and take things off the desk, and
he was asking him for a raise.
Yeah. Is this a bad time?
Is this a bad time to ask for a raise? The team enters the Augie Smith mansion, and they're walking through it.
Nice digs. Reverse Peacemaker's rolling in it. And
we come to one of my favorite little moments that we all laughed hysterically at, which is when Harcourt slams the door quickly on Economos as David Denman's character Keith is coming around the corner, and he looks at her and she says,
I just took a shit in there.
Yeah, it's rancid.
Yes.
Just
Just instantly, I just took a shit in there. We're children, man.
You could hear everybody,
You're
because
a child.
everybody around the set, because everybody was so close to the set, you could hear everybody on the crew laughing hysterically.
Yeah.
As soon as she said it.
Yeah.
Like, we're all on the outside, and people would just bent double. I don't know how you guys kept it going inside.
Well, it kept going up, but you couldn't stop laughing, Jen.
You shake it and then snow comes.
That's what most snow globes do.
I think Harcourt, at the heart of who she is, she's always prepared for everything. And this is one of the only times that you see Harcourt totally unprepared for a situation.
Yeah.
And so she's kind of Economos in this situation, and she's, for the first time, she's not the straight man.
We have the stuff which we improv'd on the day, which was the...
that my mother gave it to him on her deathbed.
And then you just go,
oh, no.
Then you started going, yeah, we always had and you see it in the post-credit scene. We loved her.
I loved her.
I loved
She
her
was
so
great.
much. And he said she died when
Peacemaker was 2.
Peacemaker was 2.
Yes, she's a ghost.
And then
She haunts.
Which I said to you.
James was telling me to say all of this stuff. The reason that I was having such a hard time saying it is because he was having a hard time saying it.
Oh, nonstop laughing.
He couldn't even get through what he was trying to tell me to say because he was laughing through everything he was trying to tell me to say. And then I could hear all the crew back
What
there
does that
laughing
sound
because
like?
James was laughing.
Because I'm speaking on the microphone to her on set. And what does that sound like?
It sounds like...
He gets like half words out.
Say she haunts.
Yeah. One word at a time.
I don't know. For some reason, I thought she haunt. Like, I watched it today, and it's funny. It's not as funny as I just was taking a shit in there.
Probably because I could never say it without laughing.
But she haunts. I couldn't. I was thinking about it every day afterwards, and I kept laughing to myself like I'm peeing or whatever. I just think of she haunts, and I'm like, being she haunts. It's such a weird thing to say.
Well, also in the closet, Vigilante kept going in and grabbing Peacemaker 2's clothing and putting it on.
Oh, that's right, in the closet.
And
Yeah.
so there's like this little mini play going on in the
Yeah,
corner.
yeah, he was like putting on the hats of Peacemaker 2 and doing little acting things with Adebayo, and Adebayo kept getting angry at him for doing that.
That's ridiculous.
Despite the warnings of Adebayo, Harcourt leaves with David Denman. By the way, that was one of David Denman's audition scenes. He auditioned with two scenes, that sort of comedic scene, and then another more serious scene. I think the scene where he and Chris are talking, and he tells him he'll always be his older brother from at the end of episode 3. Nobody could really do this second scene. There was a lot of people that could do the more dramatic first scene, but nobody could do both that and this. In a lot of ways, David got it because of that.
He's got some comedy background. David was on The Office.
Yeah, that's where I know David from, because I knew all the people.
Well,
in
also,
the
they're
office.
subtly funny when he's like, wow, I've never seen you wear black.
Yeah.
And you're wearing pants.
And pants.
Yeah, and then you walk down the hall. What, you just wear underwear all the
Yeah,
time?
in my fucking
What am I always in my fucking underwear?
Yeah, and totally not a Harcourt 2 thing that what she would ever say. Like you.
David Denman plays your ex-wife's fiance on The Office. That's how you originally met him, right?
Yeah, I met him through that, and like we were friends. I was friends with him for a long time, but he worked with him on Brightburn. Yep. He played Brightburn's dad.
Yeah, you were
I produced.
producing that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe we just stay here forever.
Wow, that's a sharp left turn.
Vigilante goes off to find his other self, which he thinks is going to be so great. Ends up actually being.
Well, we have the vomiting.
And Steve Agee does the gagging scene where, because something is weird for some reason,
It was
Makes him gag.
It makes him
the
nauseous.
fact that I just met Peacemaker's
because he's
dead brother from the other world.
You're like, it's just too weird.
And it's
creepy.
too weird for me to handle. And
Why does that make a person gag?
It's too weird.
It's too weird.
It's not natural.
I thought it was from the rancid shit. That's why you're.
No.
And that scene is pretty disgusting, even as it is. But the first cut of it was so frickin' gross that like I had to cut it. It was so much gagging.
Yeah.
And it's like when you see somebody gagging that much, it makes you gag. Yeah.
Did you almost throw up?
Well, I can fake it, and then at some point they turn into real gags because I've been gagging so long, and my eyes just start fucking watering, but I don't throw up, and so but it just turns into almost dry heaving.
Season 1, and when you gagged, if I recall, the
throw up in the
focus
barn.
puller actually, I think, threw up in the middle of the tank. He was like, oh, and he like went off to the side and puked.
When he did the vomiting?
Yeah, in season 1.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I never knew that.
Because he was like, you actually were spitting up stuff. I almost puked. Anyways, but the guy was like, literally put his down and we're like.
The gagging is more disgusting to me than the fake.
Totally.
The puking doesn't bother. The fake puking doesn't bother me. The gagging really makes me feel sick.
It's interesting you would write it into so many scripts.
I haven't written too much gagging into scripts. I don't.
Season 1 and season 2.
No, season one's straight throwing up.
Not you. Peacemaker.
Oh, that's
Peacemaker
right.
starts
Oh,
to
he
gag
does start
and-
to
When I throw up.
That's
right.
Yeah, that's right. That's true. Okay, 2 scripts out of like 9,000 pages.
I'm
of
sure
fucking
there's some gagging
screenwriting.
in digits. I'm going to go back and read that script.
So we have the Halloween montage now where Chris is in bed with Harcourt, and meanwhile Keith drives Harcourt, and they talk about the 2 biggest bands on Earth 2, Halloween and the Beatles.
Mm-hmm. B-E-E-T-L-E-S.
Yeah, in the script, there's no, it's not Beatles, it's Beetles.
That's right.
Yeah.
All of the bands, you'll notice, if you look closely, are all slightly different in our world.
Scorpions.
But Halloween is actually a great band, but it's funny that they're as big as the Beatles.
They are. They're.
Oh, no, in
they're-
my world, I'd put the Halloween up there with the Beatles.
Would you like Halloween? You ever see Halloween live?
I didn't know. They didn't do a lot in the UK back then. I think they played a couple of the big festivals, but they didn't come over that much. They weren't that big in the UK. They were big, but not
They
as...
weren't.
No, okay.
They weren't big here either. That's the joke.
They were in my
That's the joke.
They were in my head.
I mean,
In fact,
relatively,
two guys that know the band.
compared to the bands we played in, they were big.
That's
Sam
very
also
true.
played music like
Very,
I do.
very true.
And so they go, and then as they're entering Argus, the Argus German Shepherd picks up on the cocaine on Harcourt's jacket, and she gets sent away, and she has this look that she exchanges with Peacemaker as he comes through the door. We cut to Vigilante. He is outside a house that looks very, very much like his house, with some minor differences. You know, that's a lawn ornament, that's a chipmunk in his world, is a squirrel in this world, little things. And he's endlessly amused by these minor differences. He walks into the house.
What is this? Did I make you?
And then he sees the Cheerios box. Thank you to Cheerios for letting us use that, which is Cheerios, O-H-S, which he's amazed by. And then he walks by his mother with his father, and he is amused by the fact that his father is not gay in this universe, which he probably is gay here too, but he just hasn't had the balls to leave. One of the original scripts, I had him walking by the room, and instead of it being Vigilante's mother with her father, I had Vigilante's mom rolling around on the couch making out with John Economos. And it was the only time we ever see John Economos in Earth 2. And he goes, oh, my mom is fucking John Economos here. And then he just walks on and goes downstairs.
Insane.
Are you kidding me?
So he goes downstairs, and he's
His keys magically work.
Keys work, not magically. It's there's a lot of things that are the same. Keys, codes, and he comes upon Vigilante 2. We think it might be dangerous. It's not. It's exactly what he hoped for. He's another goofball just like him, and they instantly love each other, partially because they're narcissistic. Adebayo and Economos, meanwhile, find Eagly in the mansion.
Oh, we're traveling between dimensions to clean up Eagly's bullshit?
And that's when Rick Flag Sr. goes to Belle Reeve Prison to meet with a mysterious prisoner who ends up being, of all people, Lex Luthor, played by Nicholas Hoult.
Yep.
This was one of the first scenes we shot. I think we shot the...
Still on Superman.
He was still shooting Superman,
we shot it in the middle of Superman while we were shooting the Pentagon sequences in Superman.
Yep.
And it was cool. It was weird because tonally, it instantly felt different from Superman, which is so big and brash. And then this show is like so, like strangely grounded and gritty.
Yeah.
And then also hearing Nick curse.
That's the bit that gets me is, you see Lex Luthor in one guy's, no swearing allowed.
Yeah.
You see Lex Luthor in another guy's, and it's a very different kind of language.
Yeah, it is. It's different.
Meta?
No.
Just a costume vigilante. And who gives a shit?
But I felt like even Nick's performance was different. And
It felt a little darker, yeah. It was a little different.
Yeah.
I have a really weird question. This isn't the same location you used in the Suicide Squad, is
No,
it?
it's the same set.
Yeah. Oh,
We had built it on stage, and then we brought it over. And then, of course, we're in this massive warehouse. And I tell them, just put it in a corner.
Yep.
And they put it right in the middle, right under the loud, air conditioning vent, remember?
The sound,
I remember? And the sound guy was like, who was a day player, was like, well, we can't shoot this scene today. And we're like, yeah, that's not going to happen. Anyways, it was a bit of a cluster at the beginning of the day, but then we sorted it out.
But I was really chill about it.
as you normally
As I
First of all,
normally am.
it wasn't even
I
our
was very
Peacemaker.
accepting.
It wasn't our Peacemaker crew yet. It was like
No, it wasn't.
It was
It
like
was some
like
sort of-
randos, random crew, great crew, that came in just to help us out. So
Yeah.
none of us really knew us. And then the sound issue, and it was just
And then I'm getting mad, but the sound was terrible. And the sound in
yeah.
post, they had to work out a lot of problems. I mean, there was a lot of problems with the sound, and so that was a really.
But it was literally underneath. And it wasn't just regular aircon. It was
it was like
a stadium.
No, it was unbelievable.
Air conditioning.
So it's
unit.
it's the production department, the production design department that's responsible for the bad sound, not the sound people.
Wow.
They worked pretty well together on that one.
Yeah, they did. They worked really well together on that one.
Maybe if our director didn't need it to be 58 degrees inside of the studio, it wouldn't have such a problem.
That is true. James loves a cold stage.
Does love a cold stage.
I do too, for the record.
Well,
there were some hot days where I was like, couldn't wait to go inside.
People need to stay awake.
Do not. People need to stay awake.
Letterman used to do that, right? Keep the theater at
it's
0.
Yeah, I
colder than it
find
needs to be
it's
to
better to be colder set than not set.
Yes.
And then everybody's dying, and it's
Well, and the other thing is the actors then start to sweat that you have to keep working with. If they're a little bit frozen, it doesn't show up.
It does show up.
Just
It shows up.
Your blue lips, your black charred fingers falling off.
What is the United States government willing to give me to stop this clown?
An opportunity for redemption.
I'm listening.
So we have a really important moment for not only Peacemaker, but the entire DCU in that Rick Flag, the head of Argus, strikes a deal basically with Lex Luthor in exchange for Lex Luthor finding where Peacemaker's portal might be. He is going to move him from a prison with metahumans to a prison with no metahumans, from Belle Reve, where they are now, to Van Cole. Both prisons from the comics, and then he leaves and tells Sacha Bordeaux that he's teamed up with Lex Luthor, which is scary. A man with such power as Flag, who's obviously, has some...
He's got an agenda.
He's got an agenda. It's scary for our boy Peacemaker. By the way, that scene with Lex Luthor was originally going to appear in episode 7. Yeah. That is the other thing that I moved besides the openings of 2 and 4, which I switched around. And the reason being that the next scene was so serious and heavy that I needed an in-between scene. And luckily I had shot both of them, so it wasn't a weird directing thing for me to just steal a scene from the next episode. The scene with Chris and Harcourt in the interrogation room, which is one of my favorite scenes from the whole season. Probably my favorite scene from the whole season, from a dramatic standpoint, definitely, up until this episode.
Good know you don't hate me.
I know you know I don't.
I love that scene. I think it's some of your best acting of all time, Jen, and some of John's best acting, for sure. And that scene between the two of them is beautiful. And I think we see how much Christopher Smith really does love Emilia Harcourt, and that, little exchange where, she admits to him, she becomes vulnerable for the first time, and she says, I go out and I get in fights just so I can feel something. And he says he doesn't care, She says she's a mess.
For me, it's the moment when she says, I'm a fucking nightmare.
Yeah.
And he says, I don't care, or whatever.
I still love you.
I still love you.
And I think that, in a way, is terrifying to her, because now, I think in some part of her head up until this point, you tell me, because you're thinking it, I'm just on the outside in a way, but it seems like she's always been like, he's going to find out who I really am, and he wouldn't love me. And I think in this moment, you kind of see that's not the case.
Yeah.
Are you coming back or not?
Can't.
Yes, you can.
She doesn't ever allow anyone to ever get to a point with her where she's going to have to answer these types of real questions. Like, she just doesn't get to that place with people.
Right.
She doesn't allow that in. She's got too big of a wall up. Like, she has a good friendship relationship with Economos, but they're never sitting down and, you know, talking deep things about their life. He's never heard anything about her, you know, her upbringing.
Even Adebayo, she probably doesn't say anything deep about herself to Adebayo.
No, and I think you see early on, and we're chatting after the night of partying. Adebayo is actually trying to have a serious conversation with her, and she's like, he wears a fucking clown costume, like, you know, she's just deflecting the whole time.
Yeah.
And so,
or you see the way that she handles her conversation with Chris Smith in season 1, episode 3, where she talks about dads.
Yeah.
And she kind of mentions some things about, you know, she learned to do a gun, but she doesn't go any deeper than that.
Yeah. Yeah. The most she says is sort of under her breath with a little bit of a chuckle. She says the word dads. She starts to realize through her relationship with Peacemaker, the two of them have so much in common. And it's sort of like looking in a mirror for her in some ways, and that freaks her the fuck out.
Yeah. I was going to, like, these guys, you know, obviously you all know where the series goes. But if you didn't, does Harcourt love him back? If you're watching just up to this point?
Deep down, yes. I think so.
Yeah, I feel it's the first time I realized that she actually does love him.
Yeah.
Right, watching it. It's the first time you go.
She can't say it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You see it in her eyes.
Because she's throwing all her cards out, like, I'm a nightmare, I do all these things, like, get away from me, and then he's still there. And I think she then realizes, this guy loves me, and I think maybe I love him too.
Yeah.
I believe it, yeah.
She wants to just say to him, will you just come home? All right?
Yeah.
We want you to come home. And she wants that to be enough. She doesn't need to, please don't make me say anything else. I have come to another fucking dimension. I have come to get you to come back. I am expressing that I want you to come home. Please don't ask me to say any more than that. I'm not capable of it.
In some ways, she feels like he's saying, I'll come home if you say you're in love with me.
And now, Peace Thoughts. Welcome back to another edition of Peace Thoughts, where I share my unfiltered thoughts on moments throughout the series. So here we are in 206, where we realize we're not only in a workplace comedy and in a multidimensional nightmare, but we're in a love story. It's not just Chris taking charge of the situation and encouraging conversation, but Harcourt in her best way, giving as much as she can, and in some cases more than Harcourt has ever said to anyone about anything.
You just keep talking around it.
Chris, I'm a fucking nightmare!
I don't care. It's a wonderful scene showing, like, Chris's true search for just wanting genuine love or wanting to try it, and the ever-present dance of Harcourt around, like, yo, I cannot access these things because it does not make me me, and I'm afraid to see what that's all about. That's it for this episode's Peace Thoughts. Back to you, James, Jen, and Steve. We now return to our regularly scheduled program.
It's a complicated scene, and it was complicated to shoot.
It was.
We really, you know, I mean, I think I talked a little bit on a previous episode, but the thing that's missing the most in modern television shows and movies, actually all television shows and movies forever, is staging.
Yeah.
And this is a scene that reminded me a lot of when we did the 10-minute interview scene in Superman, where it's two characters talking and they're moving around. Their movements have to do with their emotional states. And the camera is also moving around in a way to keep the scene fresh.
Yeah.
And most directors would have gotten that scene. I'm patting my... Not me. But, no, but honestly, we know from experience,
we do.
Most directors would have gotten that scene, and even though it was 6.5 or 7 pages long, would have gotten that scene, and those two characters would have been standing there talking to each other, and we would have gotten...
Or sitting there talking.
Or sitting there and talking to each other, and maybe, if they're really adventurous, they would have stood up one time or something.
Yeah. Cross-shot it, 2 cameras.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yes.
Save time.
But we were real careful in that morning to say, let's make this be what it is, and it really didn't take us that long.
No, it doesn't take. I think that's the thing. Too many directors, and I don't mean to diss a lot of directors, but too many directors would worry about shooting it, about taking the time to block it, about, you know, and I, like you, agree that if you know what you're shooting, it doesn't take you any longer. It doesn't take me any longer to light it if I know what you want to do.
You have to have confidence in the script.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have confidence in the script and you're like, oh, I might cut the whole middle of this, then you can't cut from them being on one side of the room to the other side of the room.
Yeah.
So it makes it, or you got to cut away and then
come back and they've jumped.
Yeah, and they've jumped. And so it's like, there's all those elements of it, but it makes it so much more fun. The other thing is I don't cross the line. Like, now I don't know how to explain this to somebody that's not a filmmaker. Galen knows. Because I get really mad when other directors do it, and they do it all the time, and it pisses me off. Not Greg Mottola. How do you explain the line the easiest way? There's an invisible line between two forces that exist from one person to the other. And when you're shooting a scene, you stay on one side of that line, or the other side of that line, okay? That's a basic filmmaking principle. And then as time went on, I'm not saying never, because there are times when you have to cross the line, or there are times when you're shooting with like 5 people and you necessarily have to cross the line, or there are times when you make a mistake and it just happens.
Is there a line when there's 5 people?
There's 100% always a line.
Yeah.
It's complicated.
Yeah, it's really complicated, and it's the part I love about filmmaking, which is the sort of, logical puzzle-making part of it. And it's why I like shooting action scenes, because I like the puzzle of putting things together and how camera movement works and how that works with our visceral response to those camera movements. But I don't like crossing the line because it confuses the viewer. If you cross from one side of shooting the line to the other side, the audience goes, well, wait, where are they looking? And a scene like this, it's the camera that crosses the line to keep us always on the same side of the line. And what I find is that it keeps a scene fresh when you're shooting it.
I think so. I'd love to be interested. I'm sure it does. If it keeps it fresh for the actors, certainly
I don't care
for
about
the technicians. Certainly for the technicians.
I just care about the audience. I don't care about the
because for us, it keeps you on your toes. It does. It keeps it fresh. It keeps it exciting when you're shooting something. And it's like you just said, we purposely cross to another side of the lane when we're shooting.
Yeah.
And then that dictates till we decide to cross it again. But dramatically, it allows you to ramp and pace things up and down, because you can use a shot that crosses that takes a little bit longer, or it quickly crosses to build up the energy.
Yeah.
And suddenly you're on the other side and the audience are going, oh, hang on a second, we're now over here. But the puzzles fit together correctly. If you just cross the line randomly,
without rules,
without the rules, then it's just confusing. But the way you do it is clever, so that the audience are taken on the journey.
Yeah.
But we're taken on the journey as well when we're shooting it, because you've got to stay on top of it.
And it's interesting.
You can lose yourself in it.
Oh, absolutely. Especially with the action stuff. There'd be countless times I'd be sitting in the monitor and I'd just keep quiet when somebody asked what side we were on. I'd be like, I don't know. I don't know.
Chris McGuire, who's our primary camera operator on Peacemaker, I've shot multiple movies with Chris. We have as much of a rapport as Sam and I do. Like he is like my guy, but really Sam and Chris were my guys. Like when I'm not there on set, and I took Sam and Chris aside. They know.
It was the evening after the rooftop.
Yeah, and I said, feel free to speak up, because you know what I shoot like. You know what the tone of the show is.
Yes.
Sam was with us since episode 4 on season 1.
Yep.
So it's like he's been with us since near the beginning and is the primary Peacemaker cinematographer. And then Chris knows how I shoot so well because he's done so many movies
You
with
guys
me.
actually stole him. You stole him
We
from...
did, yeah. I was, yeah.
You stole him from Superman,
We stole him from
right?
Superman, where he's second camera operator. Henry Bram
operates,
does his own camera operations. So, you know, Chris is often the second camera operator, but I often have, you know, multiple cameras, which I love you doing. And we took Chris and we're like, we really need him on
But that team was so great, man. I love them so much.
And the show is mostly 95% handheld too, so they're on their feet all day, holding it, running. It's a physically taxing.
It's a physically taxing.
But and also to James's point, Chris knows James so well, and it is having, for me, it's like it's having it's not even just a backup. It's having another personality on set that knows the show, but knows the personality.
Yeah.
That you can run things by and go, Chris, do we not need to mix it up a little bit on this? Do we not need that?
Yeah.
Do we not need to fuck it up a little bit?
Yeah.
Are you a little bit too good? Are you a little... so it's a great sounding board for me to just be able to...
That's one of the...
To throw everything out there and just...
A difference between making movies and TV is when you're making a TV show, especially when it's something like this, which is very much kind of my thing, right? So it's like when you have that, you have directors who come on set, and but we have actors who know who their characters are, what they do, how they act, actors we trust. We have producers who have produced every episode of the show and understand what it's like. And then we have a DP and camera operators who know exactly what the show is like. So it's a little bit hard for a director to come in because they have a bunch of people who know the show a lot better than they do.
Yeah.
It is, but in some ways it's a good thing because
way good.
You weren't going to be there right away.
Right.
And I remember on season 1, the first week or two, we struggled.
Yeah.
Breaking in everybody to the way you like to work. With the camera operators, with the cinematographer.
Right.
The way
and here we didn't have to, we could just get
And
right
we had
in.
we had a couple of issues on season 1 that were pretty enormous issues.
Yeah.
We had issues this season too, but we had some really difficult ones season 1.
Yeah,
but I think
you're
it's
gonna run into
just
that,
as you were
I
saying,
think.
Lars, it's that weird thing. If you buy into it, it's a fucking great trip, which Greg did. You're like, you know, director comes in, buys into the concept, buys into the aesthetic, buys
And
into
then
the
still
world.
somehow was able to bring himself to
But also, he's such a great director and so such a seasoned director that he's actually able to watch.
We're talking about Greg Mottola.
Greg Mottola, yes. I imagine he's probably able to watch season 1 and understand how it was shot,
Right,
how
that's
you guys
true.
got to where
True.
you were,
That's
in
true.
a way that maybe a less seasoned director might be able to do.
That's so true. That's
Well,
so true.
I think it's exactly that with Greg. I think he also saw the importance of the personality of the show and was like, well, you guys fucking know the personality better than me.
Just fit in.
I'm just going to come along and enjoy myself. And it allowed him to do his job.
And that there's a kind of confidence
That's
that
it.
Greg has that other directors may not have because they need to prove their work.
They're trying, exactly.
So they don't want to look stupid. They don't want to ask questions. They don't want to be led because they're trying to prove that they're worth something. But Greg doesn't need to do that.
No.
You have to command the respect of the crew. They're all, most of them are incredibly seasoned at whatever it is that they do. And you, as a director, you're just walking on for 1, maybe 2 episodes. And you have to command the respect of the crew and show them that you deserve to be there, that you know what you're doing, that you're not going to lead them astray, that we're all going to get home and have dinner on time or whatever. Like, you have to kind of show them that you're going to lead, you know, be the captain of the ship.
But it isn't even a matter of how nice a director is because it's about knowing where to put the fucking camera and what you want. It's knowing what you want. And when you're a director and you're namby-pamby and you don't know what you want and you can't figure it out and you're always changing your mind, you lose the crew, man.
100%.
They're gone. Like, they don't want anything to do with that. Don't be cruel. Like, you can't be cruel, but it's not about being overly nice. It's about, you know, really just being responsible, knowing what you want and doing it right, and not keeping them there for no fucking reason.
And season 1, I don't know if you remember, but we went up there to Vancouver They do a lot of TV. And we told the crew we're going to do these 10-hour Pacific Northwest hours, and they laughed at us. That's what they always say. And we always shoot 12-hour days. We don't believe you. And we're like, okay. And like our first 2 weeks, we had to prove to them that we were competent filmmakers and we're going to get it done. And I got to, after the third week, they were like, this is like the greatest show we've ever been on. And they were so happy that we knew what we were doing.
So Lars and I have made, how many movies and
about 4 movies, 2 TV shows.
4 movies, 2 seasons of television together. And the amount of days that we've gone over by more than a half hour are very few. In all, and that's hundreds of days of shooting. Like, you don't need to go over, and a lot of that is due to the director and the DP, but a lot of it's also due to Lars, because Lars schedules everything, and he knows how to do it. So to have somebody who's scheduling that is good at that job is also important, because,
Well, you're eating into that record on this podcast.
Now we come to the ending, which is, we've done this whole podcast without talking about the thing that is probably what everybody is talking about when they see this episode, which is the ending.
Is your favorite food multi-meal? Yes. Does your hair look best at 3 p.m.? Yes. Is your best friend Peacemaker? Peacemaker. Yes. I fucking hate that guy. What?
The Vigilantes have their back and forth, and we find out that Vigilante 2 not only doesn't like Peacemaker, but he considers him his arch enemy.
Yeah.
And he is a member of the Sons of Liberty. So the reveal of this means that the Sons of Liberty, the terrorists in episode 3, are actually good guys. Peacemaker killed all of them. And we then go on to see one little thing after another. Adebayo's walking through the streets. She's looking around. We see a woman stopping and rolling by and staring at her, freaked out, in her car. We see Harcourt and Peacemaker walking together, and Harcourt looks around and she says, this is weird. And we've noticed her looking around. Maybe you've noticed her. And when she's in the car with Keith, she's looking around at all the people on the streets, and she's like, what's going on here? She's kind of freaked out. And then she says to Peacemaker, I haven't seen a single person of color since I've been here. And at that point, Keith pulls up. He jumps out of his car. He looks at Adebayo and says, "What got up? I'm black!"
What?
Everybody starts chasing her.
We took great care with the crew to explain what we were doing each day.
Yeah, we were really sensitive. I was really, one person I talked to a lot about it was Danielle Brooks, because I wanted to make sure we were being sensitive to everything. But yeah, so we were really trying to be as careful as possible. But listen, I mean, it's a twist. And then Peacemaker unrolls the American flag, and he sees that it doesn't have the stars on it. It has a swastika.
This is your perfect world, huh?
And I think we leave it at a pretty scary place for poor old Adebayo, who's being chased by a bunch of white people, and everybody else is in big trouble as well. So we've really backed the 11th Street kids into a corner at the end of the episode. I think it works well because Peacemaker has thought this was a perfect world, that everything is great, that everything is perfect, that this is a father, brother he always wanted, and everyone's a fucking Nazi.
Yep. And I think
as far as we know.
I think what the story's about, it's like the grass isn't always greener on the other side. He goes to another world that's also totally fucked up. And it's kind of about like, wherever you go, there you are.
Yeah.
And you can't get away from yourself in some way.
Yeah, and that's what, I mean, Adebayo says to him, God put you here for a reason. This is where you belong, And he thinks that there's a massive problem where he was born in the bad world instead of the good world. But it's not really what it is. It isn't that at all. And we'll find out next episode everything. And it is
what happens to Adebayo.
Crazy episode.
In an earlier version, I remember that you were writing, Emilia Harcourt was gonna go deep undercover with some Nazis, and I was gonna have to shave my head.
There was a completely I wrote a whole season treatment for a completely different version that was about like the gang of Nazis that Augie Smith left in his wake, and just never felt it.
You wrote a first episode, a full first episode, and then you scrapped it. You were like, this isn't it.
Oh, that's right. That is right.
Yeah,
I wrote
it
a
had
whole
that really
different
cool,
first
It
episode.
had like a really cool action
It has a
sequence at the end.
great action sequence in it that I hope I can use somewhere else. But I think I was just writing around the action sequence. That's right. And it had nothing to do with the two
Yeah,
worlds.
we talked about it, and I was like, you know, I feel like we all want to know, like, what's going on with these characters that we love that we haven't seen, and we kind of weren't getting that sort of character development and everything, and then you just went back to the drawing board and you wrote a completely different season of television.
And the opening was going to be this Busby Berkeley water ballet with all of us spinning.
I do remember that. I do know that I was going to hold off killing Peacemaker 2 till later in the season when I first was writing it, and I'm like, it works as a good ending for the first episode, get people hooked. All right, well, let's talk about the song Spotlight today, guys. What's the... Oh, we don't have a lot of...
First of all, let's talk about the song that drops as Adebayo is running from the horde of Nazi zombies.
I love that song.
And what your experience was with that.
Okay, I'm a huge Dynasty fan. They're one of my favorite metal bands. I said that Bandmate was my favorite metal band, and that is sort of true, but Dynasty also is my favorite metal band. And
now I find that out.
They're well, they're actual real metal. Like a lot of the bands, are like glam metal, and that's not really metal usually. But in terms of actual metal bands, they're one of my favorites. That doesn't mean that I thought the song was perfect, but it was a song that I had from the original. I rarely ever change out songs, but nobody liked the song when I put it in the cut, including Lars and Peter Safran, who were trying to talk me into to dropping the song, and I was secretly texting with Galen saying, what's their problem with this song? And so we actually went through and tried another 20 songs at the end, like Alice Cooper's Brutal Planet and a bunch of other stuff, and just nothing worked. So I'm like, I don't know, what do they know? So I kept in Dynasty.
Well, kudos to you for trying other things and trying to figure
out.
No,
and I appreciate your hearing and then not doing it. That's good. I mean, you obviously,
Listen,
don't pitch.
I rarely question any of your music because your music choices on everything are always phenomenal. So I know if I make a choice or I'd say something, I'm putting my ass on the line. But,
but it's I always appreciate it. They're a Swedish heavy metal band, by the way, another Swedish band. But it's like, that's how I like to approach things. I didn't feel that there was anything wrong with it. But other people had that thought, and they rarely ever say anything, but I love that song there. So I wanted to kind of, see if there was something there. I didn't think there was, and so that's the song we have. First opening song is Little Drops of Heaven by Pretty Maids off their 2010 album Pandemonium, a Danish heavy metal band formed in 1981. Whoa. They've been around for a long time. Great band, tons of great songs, by the way. Second time I've used them this season. But I think we have to go for Forever in One Neverland by Halloween off their 1996 album, The Time of the Oath, which is our song Spotlight. They are a German power metal band, and they're also they have some really great. They
got some. Yeah.
They're not most of their song. The song is very melodic and kind of a ballady, and their music is mostly not like that. They were founded in 1984 in Hamburg by members of bands from Iron Fist, Gentry, Second Hell, and Powerful. So they are a great, fantastic band, and we love them as much as Nazi Earth 2 loves them.
Whew.
I didn't know they were German.
Yeah,
that's
interesting.
Maybe thought twice about that.
Put that together.
I thought it was weird too. This is very common. I find out afterwards. But when we go into the to Argus, there's the trained dog who needs to bark at me.
Yeah.
And they were speaking German to the dog, and I was like, I guess the Argus people in Earth 2 are speaking, that's a new thing James added to the script or something like that, but then I realized that they just give the dog commands in German. I guess it's pretty common, especially with like these
I had a friend who used to train police dogs. And it was
method
all
dog
German.
trainers.
So they're screaming, Spracken, Spracken, to get the dog to speak. That means speak maybe or something
It does,
like that?
yeah. And so, but I think, I don't know why that is. Would be interesting. Maybe somebody can tell us why that is, but I would guess it's because you're not going to accidentally tell the dog to do something when they're sitting next to, somebody in a cafe and somebody
says the wrong.
Says, whoa, did you bite that thing? And then it bites the guy.
That probably doesn't go over very well in Germany, though.
Well, you don't have to bring your dog to Germany.
French there, yeah.
Should we go to the Eagly airmail bag?
Yeah, what do you got?
All right, well, we have an audio message from D. Bradley Baker.
Wait, you know who that is, right?
Oh, that's Eagly.
That's Eagly.
We got an audio message from Eagly.
Hey, this is D. Bradley Baker, vocal performance for Eagly. I just wanted to hold back my tears and express my gratitude for the entire creative team that restored my faith in eagles, and once again proved that Benjamin Franklin didn't know what the hell he was talking about when he tried to force his turkey on us as the national bird. If a bird such as Eagly can hit its marks on a complex dance number with humans of mixed ability in dancing and still kick ass, then maybe each of us can dig way down and find a little bit of the hero within us to bring to our daily lives. So, thank you, Eagly, and every one of the brilliant people that came together to make him so convincingly real that I can't believe what I'm seeing with my own eyes.
I can't believe he didn't end it with an Eagly screech.
Oh, well, but thanks, D.
Okay, we got two more. From Opie Allen on Facebook, any chance of a Peacemaker Creature Commandos crossover? Well, I mean, they kind of is.
Kind of is a crossover.
Well, because we got Rick Flag Sr. in there?
Yeah, and he talks about...
broke his back.
He talks about breaking his back from,
Which actually happened in the...
I think that what this person wants is for, like, Weasel and the Bride to team up and Phosphorus with the 11th Street Kids. And, in a way, yeah, I think that's possible, yeah.
Nice.
Anything is possible.
Or even probable in a way. In a way.
All right, well, Kilo Wogue Core via the DC Discord wants to know, what was the formula that really helped you write Peacemaker and Vigilante? Both are often jerks who nonetheless want to be good people. What did you keep in mind while writing them to maintain that delicate balance and keep them lovable and sympathetic?
Nothing. I mean, I think it's just for Peacemaker, it's writing him as real as possible. And that's it. Like, it's just writing him as a real person. And he is a lovable guy. He wants to love. I'll be honest, Vigilante is lovable because he's funny and because Freddie Stroma is so likable as a person. But Vigilante is a sociopathic murderer. And the fact that we love him at all is kind of crazy because he is not a good guy and he seems to basically, essentially, have no conscience whatsoever.
Totally.
But there is a sweetness to him, and I think that is also on the page. There's a little bit of a sweetness to him in the fact that he looks up to and loves Peacemaker, he loves Economos, and he loves Eagly.
Big time.
And that's kind of the end of the list of people who he loves.
Doesn't even love his mother.
He definitely does not love his mother.
The tick on the dick line. I mean, come on, it's one of the best lines.
Yeah, who else has a mom who's a tick on their dick? While she's right there. And then she keeps coming.
Oh, she was amazing.
Yeah.
Tunes him out.
Well, I feel like I just want to ask, we've got Sam here.
Yeah.
I want to, it's so rare to get him in this type of setting. So I feel like I'm just curious about.
Don't put me on the spot.
How did you first hear about, this job?
You guys had all hired Todd Lapp, who was the gaffer on season 1.
Yeah.
And I just happened to be in Vancouver shooting when you guys came up, and this is in the middle of COVID, in the middle of everything. Todd Lapp's a dear friend of mine who I'd worked with on pilots before and I'd worked with on a show before. He sent me photographs of your production office and the posters you had up in the room, which were, I think there was a High Rocks one, a Cinderella one, something like
James wouldn't know. He never came into the office.
That's true. That's true. But in your offices, I think it was the Mammoth Studios, Todd Lapp. And Todd Lapp.
Yeah, no lie. I think I was in the offices one time on season one because of COVID.
Todd Lapp and I had played in a band a year prior or something like that for a benefit thing in Vancouver. So him and I knew, he knew I was a big metalhead. I know he's a big metalhead, but he sent me photographs of your production office, of all these posters, Cinderella, Crew, Scorpions, High Rocks, all the rest of it. And the bizarrest thing was one of the posters was a Choir Boys. I didn't know anybody else on the planet, certainly this side of the Atlantic, that even knew who the Choir Boys were. Todd had told me about this job that was coming into Vancouver.
Choir Boys had a song in episode 1 and a song in episode 2.
Yes.
Amazing band, great album.
Phenomenal band. Absolutely phenomenal band. Spike, the singer's from the same part of the world as I'm from Newcastle. Anyway,
You're from England?
So Todd had sent me these photographs. He was like, "You got to get on this fucking gig," and somehow. And then I did a Zoom chat with James, and we talked about everything other than the job.
Yeah,
we talked about music. We talked about the '80s. We talked about
Weren't you friends with one of the guys from Pretty Boy Floyd or?
I was friends with not Pretty Boy Floyd with actually one of the original guitarists from the Choir Boys.
Oh,
Ginger.
it was the Choir. Oh,
Ginger, he plays in the White House now, and I mean going back a long time, a lot of years. We some of the bands we played with in the '80s were the Choir Boys. We played with a band called the Babysitters that then turned into Last of the Teenage Idols. And
what was your band called?
Dogs
Spinal Tap.
Remember the Dogs D'Amour?
yeah.
So all of that.
Dogs D'Amour are in season 1 too.
Were they?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I missed that one.
In episode 5.
Sam, what was your band?
And then I played in a band called Polka Alice, and the name Polka Alice came from. We got that name. She was the last. She ran gin joints and she ran whorehouses in the Old West. And she.
Are you on Spotify?
Don't think so. I don't want to.
We need to get some.
We've kept the music off that as much as.
You and I have albums.
I have an EP
on
on Spotify.
You do?
I have an album.
It's called Scab. Yeah.
Icons.
From your early stuff.
Yeah, the Icons.
Oh, really?
Spotify. Yeah.
Interesting.
Is it poker or polka?
Polka, as in polka.
Oh, poker. Okay, not
Alice.
polka.
She was a real woman that from the Wild
polka
West.
metal. I mean, why not?
That's very true. Yeah. But yeah, that's how I got the gig. We didn't even talk about the job when we met on.
What instrument do you play?
I don't. I was the singer.
You're the singer. You're the lead singer. Oh, you guys are the same.
Awesome. Yeah.
You guys are the same. That's amazing.
Yeah, we talked about all this.
We did. Yeah. We've shared the embarrassing photographs.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Numerous times we've seen each other's photos. We got crazy shit going on.
Yeah. Send you some photos, man.
Wow, that's so cool. You guys just got on a Zoom and you didn't even talk about the job. You just.
Because I think Lars and I and because of COVID and everything like that, I think Lars and I.
They were already liked him. I probably was just making sure he wasn't a piece of shit.
Yeah.
You know, because I trust my guts pretty good. I mean, you're talking to the man that had a lunch with Pete Diddy in 1998 and went, I don't want to be anywhere near this piece of shit for the rest of my life. This guy is bad fucking news.
Yeah.
So I got a good gut.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like
on that. And that's the news. Good night and good luck.
I want to thank all three of our guests today. It's always fun to get to hang out with you guys. It's one of the joys of getting to do this show is getting to hang out with you guys. Oh, I don't know how we just ended up with the majority of the people that work on the show. I guess it's just James. I guess that's what it is. It's like you attract, you know, really cool, great people. Like
Lars hires all these people. I don't hire all these people. I mean,
yeah, I've hired some.
The actor's me, but like and John Papsadero who casts the show.
We've been lucky most of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we should have John
I mean,
Papsadero
it's not totally luck though. That's what I mean. It's like you guys are good at curating people who are around you.
I think. Well, also we have we do get a lot of people that want to work for James, and so we do have a high-end talent pool to look at. But yeah, I mean, there's a way we work. James works, we work, all of us work, and so we try to fit people into that.
Also, it's like when you're like Lars and I both have a good network of people that we know in this industry. And so if he's going to hire somebody, he has people he can call to say, is this guy suck or what? Yeah. And I do the same thing with, Peter Safran and I do the same thing with actors. We won't work with assholes. We have a no asshole policy. So we call up other directors and producers and actors that have worked with actors that we're thinking about hiring, and we just make sure that we have a good chance at success. Doesn't always work.
Yeah. I mean, we've been dealing with Agee. I mean,
shut the fuck up, Lars. Anyway.
Agee, or whatever you're having.
Agee.
Lars has worked on so many films in productions. Like, it doesn't seem like you could have. You're like a vampire or something. How could you? I don't know how you've been alive long enough to do as much.
He's always been here.
I didn't really have much of I didn't really have a lot of college experience. I kind of skipped that world. I just dove right in.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of family that was in it, so I was lucky to get in very early. So yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much for joining us and chatting about this episode with us. So next week, Danielle Brooks and Nut Lee, who played Leota Adebayo and Judo Master, a.k.a. Rip Jagger, join us to talk Season 2, Episode 7, titled Like a Keith in the Night.
Another name pun.
Stream new episodes of Peacemaker on HBO Max, the HBO Max YouTube channel, and wherever you get your podcasts. Don't forget to check out new episodes of DC Studios Showcase. Frankie, Tyler, and Coy will also be unpacking Peacemaker Season 2. This has been a DC Studios presentation.
Peace out.
Peace out.
This was an OBB sound production for HBO Max and DC Studios, hosted by James Gunn, with co-host Jennifer Holland and me, Steve Agee. Executive producers for DC Studios are Phil Sopanides and Gary Barbosa. Executive producer for HBO Max is Becky Rowe. Executive producers for OBB are Michael D. Ratner, Scott Ratner, and Toby Lawless. Special thanks to, from DC, Mike Pilata and Victor Diaz. And from HBO Max Design, Tom Haskard, Martha Duarte Diaz, Ryan Cronin, Brett Krause, and John Northway. Producer, Toby Lawless. Producer for HBO Max is Aaron Kelly. Research producer, Jesse Holland. Associate producer, Tessa Bartholomew. Associate producer, Chris Stitt. Production manager, Kevin Lynn. Studio coordinator, Elijah Matias. Director of photography, Chris Piper. First assistant camera and camera operator, AJ Knipe. Gaffer, Arthur Garcia. Key grip, Jake Reeder. Sound mixer, Josh Falcon. Sound mixer, Darren Bowling. Post-production supervisor, Mariana Cristostomo. Lead editor, Jesse Holland. Editor, Louis Sinibaldi. Assistant editor, Mark Alcacid. Hair and makeup artist, Kendall Shannon. Director of Creative Development and Social Strategy, Lenore Castro. Senior Coordinator, Creative Development and Social Strategy, Sharif Bakari. Production Assistant, Antonio Cavallo.
All the Reich stuff was going to be the name of next episode, I believe. Yeah. But it was like, these titles always come out much earlier than these titles will come out, months before the episodes come out. So we couldn't name it All the Reich Stuff.